Hey there friends, boy do I have a strange one for you today. I'm gonna need your help to figure this one out. First guys, go check out my friends Mission First Tactical. That's Mission First Tactical. These guys have some incredible stuff. Personally, my favorite is their new Acro CCW bags. These bags are freaking awesome. They have a very subtle look to them. They don't have an overly tactical appeal to them. So even if you are carrying, it's not going to make you stand out, if you know what I mean. They also have their brand new translucent EXD magazines. These things are unbelievable. A little bit more detail on those in a future video you'll have coming up from me. And also backup iron sights. These are some legitimate backup iron sights. These are metal, not those cheap plastic ones that you see from some of the guys out there. And then they have tons of other things like gun parts and holsters. Check them out. MissionFirstTactical.com. Again, MissionFirstTactical.com. Use my discount code FTATF. Again, my world famous discount code of FTATF will get you money off at the time of checkout. Now guys, remember we just released a brand new Mission First Tactical holster for commemoration, so to speak, of Louisiana becoming the 28th state for constitutional carry. So go check that out. Go to Mission First Tactical. The link will be in the description down below. Check that out and use my code FTATF. Remember, if you use my code FTATF, you get 20% off on their website. So go check it out real quick and snatch you up something and save some money. Now this is a strange one. Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor is saved from danger. Supreme Court Justice's bodyguard shoots gun-wielding suspect who tried to steal his car outside her DC home. A teenage suspect was shot by U.S. Marshals on Friday after allegedly attempting to carjack Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor's federal bodyguards outside her home. Metropolitan Police Department confirmed it was investigating a shooting that took place in Northwest Washington, D.C., where two marshals were on duty working a protective detail in the early hours of July 5th. According to reports, a deputy U.S. Marshal was sitting in his car outside the top judge's condominium at 1:15 a.m. when 18-year-old Kentrell Flowers approached, pointed a handgun at him, and tried to steal his vehicle. The report said police recovered the black and silver Smith & Wesson 40 VE handgun Flowers allegedly used for the attempted carjacking. Now for a little bit more detail, according to the report, at 1:17 a.m., U.S. Marshals were on duty working a protective detail. Both U.S. Marshals were dressed in U.S. Marshal Service polo shirt and U.S. Marshal Service t-shirt. According to interviews with the complainant and 0-1, at that time a silver minivan stopped directly next to them, where they were seated inside their unmarked U.S. government vehicle. As the silver van stopped, an individual later identified as Kentrell Flowers got out of the van, approached the complainant's driver's door, and pointed a firearm directly at the complainant through the front driver's side window. The complainant pulled out his department-issued firearm and fired approximately 4 times at defendant Flowers through the window, striking Flowers in the mouth. The complainant provided first aid to Flowers while the silver van fled the scene, traveling northbound on 11th Street Northwest. Now reports did later confirm that the van itself was stolen, so these guys were certainly on a stealing car spree, if you will. Now I've got questions. This story came out today. This is a Supreme Court justice, arguably one of the most powerful people in this country, right? A lot of major decisions are handed down from the 9 justices on the Supreme Court. This is part of an equal branch of government. Why would this story surface 4 days after it happened? This happened on July 5th, which was a Friday. This was not a weekend story where it got buried. It did not come out until today, 4 days after it took place. Now I'm sure there are far more sinister reasons as to why this didn't come out until now, but let me give you a few of the more obvious. We are on the heels of the Biden administration basically crapping in their own bed with the debacle at the debate with Trump a week or so ago, right? So they're already hurting from that. They're already fighting. There's a lot of infighting right now between the Democrats as to whether Biden should step down or not. Obviously, they don't need more negativity. In fact, Biden is trying to run laughably on the fact that crime is way down under him, which in reality, the DAs are not prosecuting. There's still more crime. There's actually more crime than there was under Trump, but they're not prosecuting, which means there's less crime on the books because there's less prosecutions. In fact, in some areas, they're not even making the arrest anymore. We also have this happening right smack in the middle of one of the most stringent gun control areas in the entire nation, Washington, D.C. I can promise you, and let's call this guy a child because he's 18, right? The marshal shot a child, according to the wackos on the far left. That was a child, right? So the U.S. Marshals shoot an 18-year-old child in the mouth in Washington, D.C., who had a gun. Not according to me, according to them, the gun was illegal. He was also a black man. All these are things that the Democrats put their fingers in their ears and go, la, 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 la. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear that their voting base is responsible for this kind of crime. They don't want to hear that the gun control laws that they put into place are ineffective, and that they're, again, their own voters are breaking those same laws, while through the other side of their mouth, they're over here telling you crime is down, we're doing an awesome job, the streets are safer. And we all know better than that. But I have a really interesting point that I would like to point out. This is how I wish things were. It will never get to this. This is pie in the sky. This is just me hoping. I think there should be let's call it an ideological pact, right? Any politician, any judge, anyone who has any type of authority in any area that can affect somebody else's life, right? Has any kind of authority that may have an impact on another person's rights or how they live or whichever. They should have to sign and comply with an ideological pact. Let me explain a little bit better. If a judge, like in this case Sotomayor, or politicians vote for or against something, it doesn't matter, whichever direction they lean, whatever direction they lean in, they should have to comply with that directive no matter what, directly. Like they immediately, in their immediate family, they should be forced to comply directly with whatever that is. Because we see in way too many cases like this one, this judge votes against us being able to protect ourselves with firearms. She votes against that. She doesn't think that the average everyday American, who is not a felon, by the way, not my law, theirs, shouldn't have access to firearms. When in fact, she's protected by those same firearms that she does not think you and I should have. She may not have protected herself directly with a firearm, but she was protected by a firearm. Even though our tax dollars paid for that, she did benefit from that. Because this guy was going to shoot this other guy, or at least try to shoot the guy, or steal the vehicle nevertheless. And if this other man had not had the handgun and shot at him 4 times, hitting him once in the mouth, he would have taken that vehicle from that guy. So this judge was protected by that firearm. The fact that she has voted against the type of legislation that would give us the freedom and the rights to possess those firearms and to carry them, she should not have the luxury of being protected by that firearm if she signs that ideological pact. Sounds silly? Let's apply it to some of the other areas. You vote for open borders, you should not be able to live more than 100 miles from the Mexican border. Hey, you wanted it that way, right? You wanted to let these undocumented Americans, if you whatever you want to call them, they're illegal aliens, you wanted them in here. You deal with them. Because most of these people are living way on the east or the west coast or further up north, and they don't have to deal with the influx of illegal aliens raping and killing their children and young people, right? Bringing in all this fentanyl. Let them raise their families at least 100 miles from the border and experience that same love of these undocumented people coming into the country unvetted. You vote for billions of dollars to go to Ukraine? Well, guess what? Your paycheck is now reduced by the same amount that the American people will be taxed for. That's right. You get an immediate indicator of what those tax dollars are going to do to affect our lives. If it's going to charge me or cost me an extra $13,000 a year, well, guess what? Your paycheck now gets diminished by that same amount based on the ratio of what you make, because likely Sotomayor makes a lot more money than me. So it would probably be equivalent to, say, $50,000 or $100,000 comes out of her paycheck every single year and is adjusted for inflation. You wanted the money to go somewhere else? Now you pay the piper. You voted for vaccine mandates? Guess what? Now you get to have every single vaccine made available for these vaccine mandates. And guess what? For the life of you, for as long as you're able to live after getting all this poison put in your body, you have to take every single booster they put out. They put one out for next year, you got to take it. In fact, you can't just take it, you have to be on television taking it, because I think a lot of these people are lying about getting their little vaccine. I think there needs to be biased and unbiased doctors on site to guarantee and confirm that was in fact this newest strain of vaccine that they put out, and it goes into your body. If you think it's good to force every single American out there who wants to have a job somewhere, they have to now have a mandate, so they have to take this vaccine and put this stuff in their body, then you have to live by that same exact set of rules. Now guess what? You just voted for that same thing to go into your body until you die. And of course, if you don't want us to have guns, you can't be protected by guns. So now your U.S. Marshal, he ain't gonna have a sidearm anymore. No more government issued sidearm. Now guess what his sidearm is? Maybe a sling or a battle axe? Maybe nunchucks. Let's get him nunchucks.
Nunchuck skills.
Yeah, that'll be the ticket. That's the way to protect people who don't want certain people to have certain things. It's the same old story. They vote for or against things that they have no intention of complying with because they now view themselves as the elite. And those same rules and laws now don't apply to them because they know somebody. In closing, guys, tell me your thoughts down below in the comment section of why you think they waited 4 days after somebody this powerful and this high ranking and this high profile to report on a carjacking in front of their own home. Give me your thoughts down below.
God save the Queen, man.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America.
He's so horrible.